Chapter 1. The Fight of Your Life. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over all the earth. And the man and his wife were both naked, and were not ashamed. Genesis 1:26 and 2:25 from the ESV. And God made man. Out of the dust of the ground he made him. Adam, a red-blooded male, unique, the pinnacle of creation. God also formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. According to the Genesis account, God spent time with him and walked with him and gave him dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. The Bible says that God was pleased with all that he created, and declared that it was good. But almost in the same breath, God said that there is one thing that is not good. It is not good that man be alone. So God caused a deep sleep to come over him, and out of the rib of man God created her, Eve, a woman. The one who Adam said was bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. The one who would come alongside him and complement him, similar in that they both were made in the image of God, but completely different in that he created them male and female. The beauty of this design was very purposeful. In Genesis 2:24 and 25, God's plan was for them to come together in deep devotion and commitment to and for one another, to fulfill and taste what it means to love and be loved, to be one flesh, naked and unashamed. Have you ever wondered what it must have been like the first time Adam saw her, kissed her, touched her, held her? A gift from God in all of her splendor. In the innocence of the garden, the man and the woman were free, there for one another in all their glory to express love in every way toward God and each other, free to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. From beauty to brokenness. God made us to enjoy love in relationships and to enjoy our sexuality in a loving marital relationship. As men, he made us to be aroused with the beauty of a woman and to enjoy her completely. It's natural, amazing, and wonderful. There is nothing more wonderful than being in a relationship with someone you love who truly loves you. But there is also nothing more painful than being in a relationship with someone you love who doesn't truly love you. And anything that has that much propensity for beauty also has that much propensity for pain. You only have to read one chapter after Genesis 2 to move from beauty to brokenness. Anything that has that much beauty for God, anything that has that much beauty stamped on it by God, evil will want to destroy. When sin entered the garden, it encroached on the intimacy between Adam and Eve and their intimacy with God. It shattered that intimacy in pieces. Beauty turned to ashes. Intimacy turned to accusations. What was so beautiful and alluring became filled with shame and even painful. Ever after, without intimacy, we human beings have been driven by our pain to find it. And all of hell knows this. When our lives and our relationships are not the way they are supposed to be, and when God-ordained needs go unmet, we will turn to anything to fulfill the emptiness, the brokenness, the hole inside of us. And the fight is on. The fight of our lives hits us before we even know what is happening. In the natural flow of life, when men hit puberty, testosterone starts flowing, and we feel a sexual drive in our bodies. At first, the awakening of our sexual drive takes us by surprise. But soon, even this area of our lives falls under the curse of competition between boys. Some of us mature faster and our bodies show the power of that. Some of us push aside discomfort about our interests and development through an awkward stage of youth. We wrestle with our identity and masculinity, stirred up by our sexual desires. Many feel embarrassed about it, and in the presence of others, the embarrassment often turns to confusion and shame. The new feelings impact our brains, our bodies, and our speech. Girls begin to look different. Their hair, their smile, their smell, their bodies, their beauty. And as we take this all in, we learn a new vocabulary of words that demonstrates the electric charge we are starting to feel. And for most men, this intensity doesn't let up much at all. Desire, sexual energy, the battle for control. It's virtually every man's battle. It started with the natural progression of merely being a hormone-driven young boy, a youngster who has hit puberty. Then the fight grew more intense throughout junior high or middle school and on into high school. When that knockout girl stared at us, it created a fascination that locked in our brain for days. We stole lingering glances, and we noticed the beauty of her skin and the softness of her face and neck. The smell of her hair as she passed by. Then we saw how soft and inviting her body was. She was captivating. Sexual innuendos also came flying at us through the hormone-driven culture that we shared with our peers. The locker room was filled with stories of who was with whom last Friday night in the car. Did he touch her? Did she let him? How far did it go? When we had our first taste of her lips, and we found out that many of these girls seemed just as interested as we were with the exploration of exhilaration. Our experiences were still more on the innocent side. But with these images up close, and our fantasies fueled with her profile pictures and smells of a young woman's beauty, we knew what it was now to feel that burn. The burn Paul describes in 1 Corinthians 7:9, where he said, "It is better to marry than to burn." We couldn't have agreed more. She was fire, and our desire grew. We knew what we wanted, and that it was the plan of God for us to have her someday. We will definitely get married one day, we said. In the meantime, it was a fight. If we were not careful, our spiritual life and our sexual self would be diverging at lightning speed. Enter porn. Many of us set out with intentions to stay within certain boundaries and to keep ourselves under control. The burn, however, can become an all-consuming fire at a whole nother level. Gasoline gets thrown on the burning fire, usually through the world of pornography. Virtually every man can tell you the first time he saw pornography. It gets etched in the brain. And while abstinence is a wonderful growing movement, research shows that most eventually cross the line with a woman. Perhaps it happens in high school or in those college-age days. In 2013, the CDC reported that 46% of high schoolers had been sexually active. Once it's lit, the burning fire can become a consuming fire, a total red zone. One night with friends, a meaningless summer night with no agenda for evil, someone shows up with a pornographic magazine or DVD, or introduces you to a porn site. One date with a girl you don't know that well, but your friends say she was hot, and you made moves, or she seduced you into a sexual act that scandalized your heart. At your first job out of college, it might have happened when a slightly older woman was taken with your youthful good looks. You were drawn into a place that you never would have planned to go, but the power of hormones in the moment triggered your desire and changed your story. Most live some ugly or painful memories of a path taken too far. The fight now is no longer merely about resisting temptations every day, but the fight has grown to include shame, fear, and even despair. One look, one touch, one click too far, and you are drawn into a greater intensity in the fight of your life. You may not be in the chaos of sexual sin right now, but more than likely you have ruts and vulnerability in your heart, patterns of behaving that can keep your back door open to the enemy. Every man is vulnerable to temptation. King David was described as a man after God's own heart, yet his own heart went astray and committed adultery with Bathsheba. King Solomon was given unsurpassed wisdom by God, but even the wisest of men behaved foolishly when he gave in to his temptations. We read in 1 Kings 11:4 that, as Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David, his father, had been. Today, the temptations are everywhere, especially online. You could be out on a date when a woman takes hold of you and leads you someplace you have never been before, or perhaps a place you had vowed to keep in your past, never to return to. You could get tempted next week by a casual relationship at work and suddenly find yourself in trouble. Tonight, on your phone or the computer, you can hit the right sequence that will send an advertisement to the sidebar of your window, and the bell will toll. The fight is on. We believe the sexual arena is one of the most glorious yet threatening dimensions of our lives. The Apostle Paul declared that sexual sin is against the body. It defiles you with the power to shame you, and you seemingly can't wipe it out of your mind. It's like getting hot tar on you. It burns until it cools, and it's hard to wash off. It's hard to erase it from your conscience, and harder to scrub it out of your life. We are going to explain to you why the fight is so intense, including the biological reasons for this intensity. We will tell you about your greatest sexual organ and how God designed it. We will tell you how to break free and even tear down strongholds, and how to renew your mind. This is information that you must know if you are going to be faithful and true in the fight. Maybe you or someone you know needs help and direction. We know the way to gain strength and power for the fight. Where there is no purity, there is no power. And where there is purity, power reigns. Christ has fought for our purity, and he has won that fight. You will be surprised as we talk candidly about how to live free. It's about grace. It's about his love. It's about walking with other men who want to fight too. It's about truth and intimacy. We can't wait to show you what we've learned through the years as we have worked with thousands of men. The pursuit of sexual integrity will present to you one of your greatest and most relentless challenges in life. The past 10 to 15 years have ramped it up and put this fight on steroids. We want you to be free. We want you to enjoy what God intended with the sexual life, to have that same garden ecstasy when you see her and marry her. When you touch, when you kiss, when you make love, as you live life with your wife, we want you to enjoy all God had in mind. If God gave you as husband and wife to one another, then you should enjoy it all. She is a gift. Sex is a gift. Wherever God has called you in life, whether you are a pastor, a student, an athlete, a businessman, or pursuing your career, you have a unique calling from God. But we have seen the power of sex go awry, bringing men to their knees in defeat and discouragement and derailing men from their callings. We want to help you with the fight. We want to help you win in the fight. We want you to be able to enjoy the wife of your youth. We want to help you get back up and in the fight if you've been knocked down for the count. If your heart still yearns for God to bring cleansing to your life, then you have more hope for your struggle than you realize. Even if you have been on a hellish ride with your sexual struggle, we want you to know God is still in the midst of your story. He has always been there. He is still at work. Though the gun barrels of hell are aimed at you, the Lord Jesus Christ is warring with you. We do not fight alone. In his love, he is saying, we can make it. You work, and I'll work. Let's get this done together. This fight is intimidating, but defeat and discouragement do not mean God has quit. His love never quits. If you are still crying out to him, his strength is still there for you. He is listening and working. If you will let him, he will fuel you in this fight. It's time to get free from the bondage and get free to be loved and be loved. God is fighting for you and through you. As Genesis 1 says, God gave us dominion. He has ordained that we would be masters, and with him we shall be masters in this fight. New strength and power are available in Him. The words on these pages are our way of joining you in the fight. Your reinforcements are here, ready to arm you with knowledge and wisdom. Let's roll. Questions for reflection or discussion. Number 1. When did you first learn about sex? Who told you? Did your parents ever talk to you? Number 2. What did you learn about sexuality at church? At school? Number 3. When did you first see pornography? And number 4. How many sexual stimuli do you think you ran into today? How did you respond?